Hey everybody, it's bonus stuff, and we just got done talking about some video games. We talked about Dragon's Dogma, and we talked about Infinite Wealth, like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. So, two dragon games that you should go check out. So that got me to thinking. It's also March Madness. It's called Tourney Time because all the basketball teams are in a giant tournament. So I thought, what if we just put all the dragons in a giant tournament and see who would win. So that's what we have for this week. Jared, I hope you have your chance cube.
Oh God! You should really tell me before.
We don't really need it this time because we have Alex on the
we
show,
have a
and he's our
tiebreaker now.
tiebreaker.
True.
Not only that, but the chance cube is just going to be blue.
That's it was just every time it's blue.
Every time.
When your chance
Dang,
cube
that's-
decide which one's going to be blue, then the chance cube can.
That's an unfair matching down there. 7 and 2.
Okay.
Spyro and Shenron.
Shinron.
Let's get
Yeah.
it. So let's not talk about that one yet, guys. Let's go. Do you guys remember who Mushu is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mulan.
Do we
Mulan.
know who Mushu is?
Okay, so our first matchup, Smaug against Mushu. So who do we got in this one?
Smaug.
One for Smaug.
I have more memories and fondness of Mushu, so I'm gonna say.
Oh, hey! Upset City.
Wait. The point in this game is it to choose your favorite or choose who would win?
Either.
Hmm.
That's just not right.
I think I'm going to go with Mushu as well.
Oh, wow.
Because Mushu is the tiniest dragon you've ever seen. And yet he conquers all the villains in that movie, along with Mulan. He wins. Smaug is a huge dragon who loses to a little tiny person.
That's true. That's some
That's
logic
true.
there.
That's
Yeah.
true.
He's got some logic.
But also, Mushu is trampled by a horse.
And Mushu is Eddie Murphy.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't have any fond memories of Mushu, so I'm going with Smaug. So, Michael,
Oh, no.
you are the tiebreaker.
I'm genuinely torn on this one because Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug is so awesome. We just rewatched that second movie recently. He's so good and it's so cool. But as a kid, I loved Mushu, man. I always wanted like a sequel because he does that thing where he like sits up next to the one dragon, and I was like, oh, those are his ancestors, and one day he's gonna be a really big dragon.
Cool.
And I always thought he's gonna be a big dragon in a sequel, and he never was. So I want the Mushu sequel. I gotta go Mushu, man.
Yes,
Mushu to be a big dragon.
City.
Give Mushu his spotlight, man.
How come we didn't get that movie, but we got the Mulan action or
know.
live action movie?
I don't know.
God.
All right, so now we go to King Ghidorah, Godzilla's favorite villain, and Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon.
This is just weighed in the wrong favor here because obviously Alex and I are going to pick Toothless.
Yeah.
And then you three bimbos.
Excuse me. I was going to go Toothless. Thank you.
Oh, 3 for 2. So it doesn't even matter who me and you are
Yeah,
going.
it don't matter now.
You guys are Arienos. We know how much you guys hate How to Train Your Dragon.
It's a boring
Technically,
movie franchise.
it should be me being the tiebreaker.
Technically,
against the two
Toothless is a
brothers.
cat.
True.
That is not a dragon. So
He's adorable. I love Toothless.
Did you guys hear that the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie is going to be its own movie? It's not going to be based on
Oh, really?
the original movie.
I like that. It's the
Like
same
that.
thing with like things like Cruella wasn't based on the story, or it was based on it, but not like a recreation of it. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, so
man.
we got Jared's favorite dragon, Draco from Dragonheart.
oh
We
God,
Charizard from Pokemon.
I don't even like
So-
Charizard, but Charizard.
And it's not. It's Draco. Joseph.
Draco.
Draco.
He just
Russian.
got back from vacation. Okay.
Look to the
like-
He's a Russian
Yeah.
boxer.
look to the stars, Owen.
Draco, yeah, obviously. I mean, Charizard, I love Charizard, but Draco's just awesome and his voice.
I'm-
cool.
I'm gonna go with Draco as well.
I'm going Malfoy.
Malfoy.
Oh,
Joseph
I
doesn't
don't-
understand.
I don't know who that is.
That's Draco.
I have always hated Charizard, so I'll go. with
Oh,
Draco.
dang.
Interesting. What's up with the Charizard hate?
I hate
He's-
Charizard.
he's
I'm
a
not
bland
familiar-
dragon.
I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with Pokemon at all. so-
Charizard's cool.
No.
Yeah.
Because
He's
that's the one
overrated.
everyone always picked Charizard, and Charizard is the
When
dumb
Dragonite is the
dragon.
obvious best dragon in this.
Yeah, I like Dragonite.
I think
Okay.
Charmander's a lot better than Charizard. Looking.
Yeah.
So here is the
Shenron.
matchup. Jerry.
Fenron.
Let me play
Anyone got
devil's
any
advocate
Spyro?
here.
I'm gonna go with
Spyro, though?
I'm gonna go with Spyro.
Now-
Okay.
Now, Shenron doesn't have a lot. He has so little interactions with them. And which Shenron are we talking about? We talking about buff Shenron? We talking about green Shenron?
That's
Oh,
Tarunga.
oh, that's
That's,
Purunga.
yeah,
You're
that's
right.
a whole
It's been
different
minute.
dragon.
Idiot.
I feel like Purunga's more interesting than Shenron, honestly.
Shenron has
What?
some
He
comedic
has some
chops,
sass.
though.
He has some sass, but I feel like he's not in enough. I think I'm gonna go Spyro, honestly.
What does Spyro do besides
He's a
be
little
annoying?
purple
He's
dragon.
like this little. He's going to save all his friends. He's learning about his environment, his world. He's
Oh
a dragon
my
growing up.
God.
I love Spyro.
He's an ugly Western style dragon. We have this cool
No.
Eastern style
He
dragon.
goes like this. He goes.
Get
and then
the
he hits
weeb
sheep.
out of
And then
here.
he hits the sheep.
Okay, so I guess I'm the tiebreaker this time. Shenron was really cool until he started making jokes. But Spyro, that's all he does. So I'm going to go with Shenron.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I like Spyro, but come on.
Yeah, I like
Final
Spyro.
four. Yeah, if Spyro was against Toothless, I'd probably pick
Yeah.
Spyro. But
Mm-mm.
we got Mushu and we got Toothless. So who are we going to go for this round?
man.
I'm going Toothless.
Whoa.
Love me some Toothless.
Same here.
I'm gonna go with Toothless.
I got. Oh dang! I was gonna
Really?
say. I gotta
Doesn't
split
even
and go
matter.
Mushu, man. I gotta go. Mushu.
He's a little black cat, but a dragon, so it's.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something about Mushu.
Where's Luna? All right, I'll go Mushu just to give him a point.
Oh man, I thought Mushu had it.
Me too.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was
poor
only
guy.
that one round. All right, Draco.
Oh, I
versus
swear to
Shenron.
God, guys!
I gotta go Draco.
Yeah, you gotta go
He's
Draco.
great.
He's way better than Shenron. No offense, Shenron.
What? No.
Shenron is super dope and cool, but Draco has actual personality. He's got some great
Yeah.
lines. It's Sean Connery.
Yeah,
Shenron
He's got
grants
something in his tooth.
wishes.
Draco.
just got no. The balls grant wishes. Shenron's just there for flair.
All right.
there for Fleur.
So our matchup for the
Who cares?
final.
This is actually hard. This is actually hard.
Damn.
Toothless.
Jared, you really hate Sean Connery.
It's a stupid. That's a dumb movie, guys.
All right. I'm gonna go with Draco.
Of all movies for you to hate, why that one?
It was
He hates
dumb, guys.
fantasy.
I feel like if we're going for like the greatest of dragons, Draco's like the elder dragon that is wise. And everything. I think we got to go Draco here.
He is the last
Here's the last one. Which makes
Yeah,
him
I
make him the
can't.
youngest actually, but
I. That's hard because Toothless. What's cool about Toothless is his design is so unique
Yeah,
to what we
it's
know
so
of dragons,
awesome.
and his like
And
fire
he-
sound is so cool.
And he's handicapped. So
he goes, "Woo."
Yeah.
it's an
But what-
inspiring story.
True.
What is his?
Draco's missing half his heart. What are we
Yeah.
talking about?
That's an inspiring
Dude,
story.
that's just Dragon's Dogma too, man. You took the heart.
Yep.
That's why he's going after all the human hearts.
It always comes back to Dragon's
It always
Dogma.
does. It's all that matters.
That's why Dennis
Full
Quaid is
circle.
DLC in those games.
Oh, I should have made him as a character.
Yes.
That would have been fun.
What did they call Toothless's like species?
Night Fury.
Night-
Oh,
yeah.
it's so cool.
That is very cool.
Mm.
Right. Come on.
What are you thinking, Joe?
Man, I don't really care for either of these two.
Not the way he would have seen this go.
Yeah, it is.
I
not
have
the
to
way-
go Draco. I have to.
Okay, and I'll go
I have to.
Toothless just to give him a point, just to make it interesting.
Can't believe this.
Feel bad for the crippled dragon.
He is the last one.
This is
I
dumb,
did not expect
dude.
him to get to the end there.
Jared,
I
man,
thought Mushu
upsets
was in the bag, man.
it. Oh man. Yeah, as you know, if you notice, I didn't put any fire and ice or whatever that show.
Or dragon tails.
Yeah, because I don't know them. The only exposure I have is in House of Dragon, and they haven't been too.
Where's
offensive.
Jake Long?
In that clip of one of the dragons getting shot down in Game of Thrones. So that's all I know about their dragon.
Let's be clear though. The best dragon is the last dragon in Reign of Fire. Come on.
The
That's the coolest
Mother
dragon.
I
dragon.
don't remember that movie that well.
What are you talking about?
You don't remember?
You're the dragon guy.
Matthew McConaughey being like the most unhinged person ever.
Dude,
I
he's so
remember
good
him
in that
in it.
movie.
He leaps off a tower like
Yeah, that's
clearly to
cool.
his death, even if he does kill the dragon.
He's buff and bald.
Yeah, that was like his
No.
first movie after being in rom-coms forever.
Now he's bald and Christian Bale.
Buff and bald.
And his first line in the movie's
He was just Tom Hardy before Tom Hardy came around.
All right, but do you remember what happened on Star Trek this week, Michael?
Oh, Star Trek this week, boys. Guess what? We have yet another distress signal. But this, hold on. Is the episode called Miri?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't understand why it was called Miri, but it was called Miri. Is that what the planet was called? I don't know.
That's her name.
That was
Her
the
name?
woman's name.
Really? That
The
was her
little
name?
girl. Yeah.
That was like. Oh, I'm thinking of Audrey from the last one, the Android one. Anyway,
You're still thinking of that?
We're-
Android?
we're-
what do you
all-
expect from me? How do you? what do
We're
you
all
expect?
still
right?
we're all still thinking of Andrea, Michael.
Anyway, Captain Kirk is apparently not, because in this episode we get a distress signal where they get a reading of a planet that is very strangely similar to Earth, but in the 1960s, as they find out as they land. So it's Earth. All the humans are seemingly gone except for the younglings. All the adults, or as they call them, I forget what they called them, like
The
Golts or something like that. I don't know. All they call them weird words. They have weird words for everything. All the
it's like
adults,
buppies or I don't know,
Yeah,
something like
Grubs.
that.
They're like grubs.
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 That sounds
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
There you go. So all of the adults on this planet have died to a disease, as they find out, due to them trying to increase the longevity of human cells and life and everything. So all of our Star Trekkie people get down to the planet,
Starfleet.
and they
He was right. Star
Star
Trek.
Trek
Star
people
Trekkie
is the new
get
name
down
of
to the
it.
planet, and immediately, without fail, Captain Kirk just gets horny. It's just immediately he sees a girl, and it's just out of line. He's like, "Hey, you're real pretty. You're real pretty. I like that name." Oh, and I'm like, "Captain, calm down." And then they're like, "Oh, Captain Kirk, you see, she is on the verge of puberty, and that is when this disease takes effect, and the adults die because of something that changes in their physiological system. So you are causing her to die, basically." And he's like, "Take my hand. We're gonna go for a walk." And he just takes her out. You're like, "Dude, you're literally killing her. What are you doing?" So basically, they get on the planet. They get the biggest theater actor kid you could ever see on the planet ever, leading all the children of the corn of this planet to try and destroy all the grubs and try and get Miri back from the grubs, because they're like, "Why is she hanging out with them?" Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so it's just basically children of the corn mixed with Peter Pan, because they never grow up, because all of them are like 300 years old or something like that. They only age every 100 years. They age 1 month, which is kind of weird. And then all the adults are getting infected. Even Spock says that he's a carrier. They have to try and find a vaccine. But what does the theater actor kid do? He comes and takes their radio out of the thing. Like, we're going to stop them from talking to their people back on the ship. Why? I don't know. Because, I am evil and it's cool. And he goes back to his little lair. Then Captain Kirk does not care. He just keeps flirting with this poor girl who's hitting puberty. And then she gets jealous because she sees him looking at the blonde hair. I don't know her name. What's her name? Blonde hair with-
Yeoman.
The yeoman?
Yeah.
on the Enterprise with like
Yeah.
the checkered hair, which I was like
Yeah.
very even like, how did they do? What is that, a wig? Is that, do they do the checkered hair?
I
every
thought
time
the
they take
same
her in?
thing in this episode. I was like, how did they do that?
Did they just spend each time? All right, girls, bring over your side. All right, bring up the top, and like overlaying this checkerboard hair. But anyway, the Miri girl got jealous because she saw Kirk with that, checking out that girl's legs with the blue bumps on them, and then so the kids come and take her because she's like, "I don't like her. I love Kirk." And then she's like, "I don't want anything to happen to you, Kirk." He's like, "Well, I'm gonna die if we don't do this." She's like, "Oh crud, that sucks." So they go back over there and they're like, "Hey," he yells at everyone. He takes this kid in like a flannel shirt, throws him probably 3 or 4 times. Like he walks in the room, immediately spots him on the desk behind him, like, "Oh, you're my target." Grabs him, chunks him off the desk. So they all get up. He gives a big speech. Then kid comes out again. He throws the kid again against the wall. Then some kid comes behind him with a stick. He just grabs him and twists his wrist and shoves him back in a corner, and they give up on the fight. Then they all start pounding on him for no reason. He comes out bloody, and of course, Mr. Kirk's shirt is ripped right here. Then when he gets back to the thing later, because Bones ends up taking the vaccine because they got the vaccine from they made a vaccine, but they couldn't confer whether it was legitimate
The right
or would work or
dosage.
not because the guy took the radio. And so he's like, screw it, I'm just sticking it in me, because none of them, all these people are in any, okay, these are the elite of the elite, right? They're the space cadets that go and are supposed to handle intense situations. They're on this planet for 1 week. They are losing their minds. They're so angry. Everyone's screaming at each other like they're children stuck in camp for a weekend. It was ridiculous. Except for Spock. He's like, this is not going to work. I know it's not going to work. And they're just yelling at each other. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so Kirk comes back. He convinces them all, and then the weird theater director kid just keeps smiling and looking. He looks between Kirk, then he looks at Mira, then he looks at Kirk, and he keeps smiling. I'm like, what are you doing? He didn't do anything. He's like, is this how it's supposed to be? And she's like, I guess so. And then it kind of fades out with him doing this. It's like, I don't know what we're doing. But Kirk comes in, and somehow like his shirt got ripped there, of course. Then he comes in, and it's like a style almost. It's ripped from like mid bicep down to wrist. So it's just these flapping arms where he looks like a bat. Like he looks like Jim Carrey in the Batman when he's doing this. And I was like, what is going on? So he comes in, of course, and I'm sure. Anyway, the vaccine works. They leave all the kids on the planet. Like, the space people back home will send teachers and all that to take care of them. They'll be fine. They probably died and they zoomed off to their future destinations. And that was Star Trek this week.
Weird.
Yep.
Not the strongest.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fun one. It was a typical one.
Really?
But it was also like getting off into like the 60s and the alternate kind of story. I didn't mind this one.
There is a lot of good child violence because Kirk beats up that dude in the beginning. He's just like, "Doosh."
Yep. Jared messaged me, and he's like, I hate all the ones with kids. Which is true. I can think of one generation which is pretty good where Picard has to like babysit a bunch of kids, and that one's pretty good.
While I was watching this episode, I scrolled through Instagram during the spot, and it was a clip from, oh no, I'm drawing a blank. I've always setting blank of my head. Curb Your Enthusiasm. And Larry David's like, kids, why would I want to babysit kids? Because like this whole rant of how kids are the worst thing on the planet, how he lives in this house without kids specifically for whatever. And I was like, just like looking up, I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of get it.
All right. Episode 8 of House of the Dragon, The Lord of the Tides. So we get another 6-year time skip. I was just getting used to the time era we were in, and they've already gone on. Corliss is dead. They died off screen. They don't show it, but they're like, hey, he's probably dead. We think he's dead. And so that's a discussion between his wife and his brother, and they're like, who will sit on the throne now? The brother thinks it should be him because he's of the blood, and you know how that's a very touchy subject around these parts. We get a scene with a man. He's in a cave, and he finds an egg, and it's Damon, and he's got a new egg, and he gives it to his monks, and he says, you got a lot of eggs this time. Oh, no, he says, like, I got 3 babies.
Different line.
We get some Valerian lessons. One of the princes is learning how to speak Valerian. He's really into it because they're like, oh, we'll give you the answer. He's like, no, I have to learn. And there's a challenge to the legitimacy of the princess's throne because, like I was saying, though, we don't know whose blood is whose anymore. And she's preggers again. She's going to have another kid. And this time it's Damon's kid. So she's like, dude, we got to go back home because I need my dad's help because no one believes that I should inherit the throne. Meanwhile, the queen is having a really boring meeting. They're just listening to this boring old guy, and they're just like, oh man, this guy, he needs to go, man. He's making us sleep. And then they talk about who should have the throne, and a lot of them just say indeed a lot. They're just like, indeed. And they're like, indeed, yeah. The the queen calls someone the wrong name because I guess that makes her a bad person because she can't remember names. So she's like, he's like, I'm Elric, man, and she's like, oh, sorry. And then, so we get a scene in the king's room, and we see that his toys have gotten dusty from no one's used the toys in a long, long time, and they really need dusting because toys get dusty. The king, he's still alive, but he's like a mummy now. He's pretty much a skull with some hair.
Nasty.
Yeah. Um, and the princess visits him, and they're like, "Hey, we got more grandkids," and he's really happy to see them. He's like, "That's a real good name for a king," and everyone is happy. Um, we find out that Prince Aegon, I guess his name is, he's been terrorizing the staff, getting naughty with the nurses. Um, and the queen has to deal with this with some more tea, so we get more tea. So she's angry, and they love to show this kid naked for some reason. So she like goes and she slaps him, and she's like, "You're a disgrace, man. What's wrong with you?" Um, so the queen visits the princess really fast. They have a real fast. The princess is like, "Hey, I'm the heir to the throne," and the queen's like, "Ah, that's funny." And because this show is so frustrating, so they the princess shows her scar because remember the queen like stabbed or slashed her in that big old family dinner they were having. And this show is so frustrating because it can be super subtle, like it is at the end of the episode, but it can just be like in your face, like you're stupid. Remember the scar? And it's like it's like make up your mind. You want to be subtle or you don't want to be subtle. That really frustrates me. So the princes are back in town. They haven't been there in a while, so they're touring the Pokey Stadium, and they're like, "This is cool. I missed all these old swords." And we see Sir Christian training his Pokey son. Our man Sir Christian's there, so
God, I hate him. Every time I hear him.
and he's got the cool Pokey son now because his Pokey son has an eye patch. And this guy just reminds me a lot of Damon for some reason. He's always just kind of in the background smirking at stuff. Um, so I, there's so I thought that was kind of cool. Or was I? And then they have a discussion about, do you really want a kid as the Lord of the Tides? The two princesses meet, and she's gonna the princess that we know that we've been following. She's like, I did not murder him, your son, and because she thinks she murdered him. So she gives her a generous offer, but of course she doesn't take it because no one ever takes the princess's offers for peace.
It's like, yeah. Please, someone agree with me for one time.
Yeah. And she kind of cries about it being a heavy burden to be the heir to the throne. Oh, she's talking to her dad, and she's kind of like, "You gave me this, but it's just made my life heck, and no one likes me, and you're kind of tearing the kingdom apart. Why did you do this?" So he's kind of listening to this, but he doesn't really say anything because he's a sick old man. Um, we get this scene where they're like operating on the king. I'm not sure what they're doing. You just hear like metal cleaning, and they're doing something to his back. Um, and they like sit him up, and it's like just a corpse. He's really just like a walking corpse now. Um, but he tells the hand that he wants to have supper with his family. He wants everyone to have supper. So the hand starts a succession talk. They're like, we're here to finally figure out who the heck the heir is. The brother gives a speech. He's like, I'm the closest blood to the Lord of the Tides. I should be the Lord of the Tides. And then all of a sudden, who's talking? I think it's the princess is talking. And then she gets interrupted because the king, he decides to walk in. It's very dramatic because he can barely walk. He's hobbling. I've heard a lot about this scene even before I saw the show. This is kind of everyone's favorite scene. And he like takes his throne. He's like climbing up the stairs. He can barely his crown falls off. Damon goes and helps him. He's like, I don't need help, but he helps him. It's kind of a touching scene between those two. And then so he sits down and he's like, "What? I thought we had already settled this. Why are we talking about this?" So he's like, "Let's hear from my sister." And she's like, "Oh yeah, well, I'll just take the princess's offer since you did this big dramatic walk-in." And he's like, "All right." And
Does the king
then
really sound like Jerry Seinfeld?
He's like, what are we doing here? Oh, boy.
I don't need help.
Can you believe dragons?
But this does not make the brother of Corlys very happy. He's very angry. He says, "That's no nephew of mine." And he calls the princess a whore. And then they're like, the king's like, "I'm going to cut off your tongue," but he can barely move. So Damon cuts his head off, like halfway. It was very violent. And he beheads the brother. And then so they decide that's a good time to have family dinner since everything's been taken
Who's
care
hungry?
of. We saw half a guy's face, so we're ready to eat. The king talks about how he's seen a lot of the face of death because his face is all kind of nasty, and he takes off his half mask and he's just got no eyeball there, and so everyone's not hungry anymore. What else? He's gonna make a toast because he's like tired of all this fighting, man. He just wants us to be a family. Darn, I have no eye. I need a family. I'm not handsome, he tells people. Not as handsome as I used to be. And he basically says a house of the dragon divided cannot stand, man. So we gotta get together. So the princess is very touched. She makes a toast to the queen. She's like, "You've always been there for my dad, so I respect you." And she's really touched too. And everyone's just all touched. They're all touched, man. So then it's the prince's turn to make a toast. And I can't remember which prince it was because there's so many of them. And then the king says, "I want some sick beats up in here." So they start dancing. And then and the eye patch kid, he makes one final toast. And he kind of insults the other kid. So the Pokey Sons fight, man, to the death. Not really, because they still break it up. And then everyone goes to the corners. And then in a sad scene, the king passes away on his bed. And right before he does, he's like, "Hey, queen, remember that dream I was telling you about?" And he mentions the name. And she's like, "Oh, that's my son." And then the episode ends. And she's like, because she like, "Oh, he wants my son to be heirs." It's a big misunderstanding again. So that was episode 8. I got 2 more left. So
I like imagining the king just like breaking down, and then he's like, "I'm ugly. I'm not handsome
I just
anymore."
want everyone to be friends. Yeah, that part's so sad because one, he's super naive because like everyone around him is plotting against each other, but he just wants a family and everyone to get along and just work together. It's just like, buddy, I understand you're like you're like just a walking corpse, but it's like you gotta realize how divided it already is. You're not together at all, and these people are all going to kill each other when you die. So you got to make some ground rules and like actually set something in stone. But no, he just dies.
Yeah, and he was definitely my favorite character. Now all I have is Sir Christian. So they released these trailers, and one's like Team Green and one's like Team Black, and I'm like, "Team Green, Sir Christian, go, man!"
Oh my.
So
Joseph, he's the worst person.
He's not. He's the best knight. He actually kicks butt.
Who's Sir Christian? I don't even remember.
He's the dark haired guy that the princess when she's young first sleeps with.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Matt Smith leaves her.
Yeah, now he's like the queen's.
I thought, never mind. I'm not gonna say anything. I vaguely remember that show. I remember a lot of things you were talking about, but it's not super clear.
Yeah,
well, the second season is soon, right? When is it?
June.
So it's really soon. So I am almost caught up. So
did you watch Game of Thrones?
I did not watch Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
I started with this one. So that's what I had. Only other thing I had is because I was playing Like a Dragon like crazy. So the only other thing I did was I watched Roadhouse this morning with Jake Gyllenhaal. So
nice.
The remake of the movie that made every boy a man. So It was fine. I expected to hate this movie when they first announced it. Then I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, okay, that looks okay. So I watched it, and some of the scenes are like directly from Roadhouse. You're like, oh, I remember that. So it just gives me the feeling like young people are putting on a play of Roadhouse. And then they throw in this MMA stuff, which I'm not a big fan of that stuff. It had that Colin McGregor guy, and he's just Connor. He's just like
Colin
super,
McGregor.
he's super silly, and he's not a great actor. So yeah, he didn't really add much to it. But I mean, it was fun. It was a fun watch. So.
Yeah, I saw like clips of him in it, and I was like, "You're just going too much. That's too much. Calm down,
yeah,
Connor.
he's
Calm
super
down."
over the top. Yeah. But yeah, go watch the original if you haven't seen the original. Patrick Swayze, man. Jake Gyllenhaal has nothing on Patrick Swayze. So that guy was just walking cool all around.
He's just oozing it. It was just dripping off.
Yeah. All right, who wants to go next?
Is this show? Is this just what we've been doing?
What we did. I'll do mine since I already did Star Trek.
Okay,
I only have one more thing.
homework.
I only have one more thing.
Oh,
That's our homework. So my only other thing that I watched was like have continued. Okay, I'll add two things. Hosier just put out a EP of songs that didn't make it onto his last album because they didn't quite fit, which I understand. They're definitely more of like the style of his that I prefer. Because the last time I liked, but it wasn't like nothing stood out. It was all kind of like a few songs here. There was like, oh, that's really good, and the rest was like, okay, whatever. But this EP actually like more because it's more akin to his older stuff. So I liked it a lot. And then I continued. Where did we leave off last time? Last time in Hunter x Hunter, which I was complaining about the extremely slow assault on the King's Palace. Thomas knows what I'm talking about, right, Thomas? We got Senior Poof and Yuppie and all the fun stuff.
So quick thing about Hunter x Hunter is that my TV has like TV stations that it gets for free, and this one's called Anime All the Time. I just leave it there because it's fun. I turned off my PS5, and guess what popped up? Freaking Hunter x Hunter in the middle of something I have no clue what's going on, and I'm like, even if I watch this, I still wouldn't know what's going on. Like, what is
was
this
it the
show?
Yu-Gi-Oh arc?
You would.
I don't know. He was like a purple man that turned into like Spike Man. He had like multiple arms. I don't know. I had no idea what was going
I don't
on.
know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
He just watches Gundam SD on that. That's why.
Shut your whore mouth. you Christian loving son of a gun.
It's his favorite Gundam.
Sir Christian. So anyway, last time everyone was getting ready to their fights. We had Gon going with Pito, which is the cat that attacked his friend, and they were going off to their fight because she finished shielding the little girl and the little butterfly man. He was trying to find the little girl to stop her from, take away from the king, and the king went to go fight the old man. Well, the king has now fought the old man. That was a pretty cool fight. A lot of this got really cool again. Okay, we left the slow, goofy stuff. We got the cool fight stuff. The old man like is whooshu whooshu all over the king, and the king's like, but then he was like, oh, I'm gonna rip off your limbs. Your left arm. He takes all his limbs off, and then the guy ends up having a bomb in his chest. I thought that was a little silly. Like,
creepy face when he like admits that there's a bomb.
That was terrifying. A lot of dark faces in this, but it was like, I thought that was a real lame kind of cop out. Like, hey, guess what? Nuclear warfare is in our world. Humans rule. And blew him up. But anyway, he became crispy, and then all of his friends.
Michael, Buddha couldn't save them. He had to do something.
But that's not the only thing disappointed me in this one, because we go on. Gon goes and has his little moment with Pito, and they're supposed to go help Kite get back. But Alex, you don't care about spoilers for Hunter, right?
No,
not that you're gonna understand what's going on at all. But find out that Kite the whole time was dead. He was a puppet. You couldn't save him. He's just crazy loony man without a soul. And Gon gets real angry.
That not known? No, because that's what.
Yeah,
that's what triggers the whole.
What triggers Gon. Okay. It triggers Gon to turn into handsome Squidward. Is what happened. Gon got really angry and apparently aged himself a couple decades. Hattie, piss off! Oh my god, rude. No more. God. And which I'm very torn about because he looks very silly. The man's in a crop top and booty shorts, and he goes walking.
He grew into. He was wearing child's clothes.
I know, but I'm like, Like he looks cool.
And his
later
outfit
on.
always sucks, even when it does fit that green jacket.
it looks a little cooler later on when he's fighting, but that initial walk off, I was trying not to laugh while watching it. And then the whole like, I feel like they have like weird. What do you want to say here? Like they want to give like speeches or something like that, or give some sort of, what is the phrase I'm looking for? There's a phrase.
Monologue?
Not monologues, like lessons, kind of in a sense.
Oh,
And so yes,
morals,
something like that. And so they have him do this weird speech of why he did it, and like, and then he's saying that he's like, and Killua, right before he struck, he could have sworn he heard Gon say, "It's okay, let me go. I've had my time." It's like, I don't know. It's very, this whole arc has been over dramatic in my opinion. And so, yeah, so that happened. And now the cat, of course, wasn't dead, even though he pounded her 45,000 times in the ground. And so she tickles his armpit and his arm falls off. And then the butterfly man's trying to hide all the evidence of the puzzle playing girl. And then the king is back. But then the king's like, you know what? Let's play a game. You guys are right. Let's play a game. Then you got to tell me the truth. If I catch my guys first, and if you catch your guys first, you can not tell me the truth of what you're hiding the whole time. So that's where we are now. They're playing a game. Gon's an old man with long hair and no arm. Killua is confused and sad. The one chick keep covering her eyeball. I forget her name. She's running off with the little girl because the Bug King is so strong. He's like Frieza and Cell and Boo all put together, and he's just whoosh. Yeah. So yeah, so now they're playing a game after a big fight. I don't know.
Yep.
This whole season is so up and down for me. I'm like, this is cool. This is terrible. This is cool. This is terrible. It's killing me.
The way he gets that power is a cool concept, though.
Like how they like feed it back into him. Yeah. Or you mean Gon?
Gone.
Oh, Gon. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how they culminate this thing. Cause I'm like, I feel like in the past 20 episodes, there are probably 6 that I needed to watch to understand what's going on. And the rest was just bananas absurdery. But I'm very interested to see how this wraps up. Cause I'm getting close. I feel like I'm getting pretty close to the end of it. I don't know, but it's just like, it's so different from all the rest of Hunter x Hunter for me. I don't know. It's strange. So we'll see. But that's all I did was watch those episodes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jared?
So anime, I've caught up with Ninja Kamui. It's heating up. I'm actually really liking it. It's just really like Adult Swim anime. It's just like it's just really of that time, just like 2005 or something like that. It's just cyber ninjas. My gosh. And then I caught up with Solo Leveling, so I'm on episode 10. That's also heating up. So there's a really cool episode. I don't know if I can talk about it because Michael's. I don't think he's there.
The dub ones. They haven't released a dub one in 2 weeks. I'm like, why? I'm very sad about it.
Oh, Solo Leveling?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so sad about it. I'm about to start jumping into the dub or the sub. Honestly, I want to watch it.
Yeah, there's a really good episode, but like I said, I don't want to spoil it.
Dang.
Movie wise, I watched Poor Things. I agree with both of you. It wasn't weird enough. I didn't really like it as much as his other stuff, like The Lobster or Killing of a Sacred Deer. Those I really love Killing of a Sacred Deer. That's like probably my favorite of his, of just how weird and absurd it is, or not absurd, but like kind of just ambiguous. This was really more straightforward. Anytime Willem Dafoe was on was a delight. Like all his lines were good. He was just good in this movie. I don't know if it's not bad. It just wasn't for me, I guess. There was a really good line though, where she's talking to the dude on the boat and he's like this guy that's just like, the world is corrupt. There's no point of anything. Like, just give up. And she's like, you just sound like a hurt little boy that can't deal with the world or something like that. And I was like, that was a good line, but I don't know if it justified the whole movie for me. I hated Mark Ruffalo in this movie. He was like terrible. But yeah, it was okay. Not my favorite, not the worst. Books, I finished Dune Messiah. It's a really good book. Joseph and Thomas, you've read this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Michael and Alex, you're not going to read it?
Alex is partway through it.
I'm actually listening to it right now. So
okay. Then I'm not going to say anything. And then I finished that, so I started Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
ooh,
So the reason I started that book is because I watched a YouTube video on it, and it just seemed like something I really wanted to read. So I'll go into that. YouTube video was by Horses, and it was on Marcus Aurelius, the man who solved the universe, and it just talked about how he was a stoic, and then how he kind of lived his life. And I was like, oh, that's kind of how I try to live my life, just like trying to do good. And that's all you can do is improve yourself. You can't really do much else. So I was like, man, I kind of want to read this book. So that's why I started that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was on YouTube is Mind Pulp. Just two guys that do let's plays, and they played Bully, the old Rockstar game for PS2, and it was hilarious. So I recommend that. But that's all I did this week.
Ooh. Alex, what did you do this week?
this week, let's see, what have I been watching? We've been watching Shogun, so I think we've watched 4 episodes.
Yeah, we didn't watch this week's yet.
Yeah, the 4th one is really good at the ending. I let's see, I listened to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F * CK. And it was really good. It was really short. It was like a little over 5 hours, I think, or maybe near 6 hours audio wise. I was
He
like,
wrote
huh.
something recently. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, he's written a few bangers, but that one got like the most attention, I feel like. And it was really good. I feel like I was a little bit not disappointed in it because everything he said in it was good, but I feel like he starts off really strong with that idea of not you only have so many Fs to give, so don't give them to everything. And how that people will like just spiral themselves into oblivion thinking about like all the problems in the world, and it's like, what is that helping? And that's really good. But then the later on in the book, he's like giving some really solid, good advice. But I'm like, what does that have to do with
Not
the
giving
title? Yeah,
not
like what
giving
is
a F
asterisk CK?
CK.
And
I'm gonna say that now.
yeah, at least I think that's how it's spelled on the cover. Um, but it was very good. There's a particularly, I think, in the maybe the last chapter, it's like before, I think there might be a bonus thing at the end or something, but that was really amazing. He talks about this story of him going to Cape Hope at the bottom of Africa because he's nuts. Like he went to like 55 countries. He was just like just filled with wanderlust, I guess, and just went everywhere. But yeah, that story is crazy. Like it was really well written too. I also would like to spend a little bit of time speaking about Dune. So
Oh, cool.
we watched or before the second movie came out, we watched the first one again. And even before that, I had gone through the first book. And because I was like, I want to go through it before we see the second movie. Actually, I wasn't finished with the book when we watched the first one, but I finished it the day of that we went and saw the second movie. And this is such a unique experience from all the books I've listened to, where I'm like uniquely stubborn with this book. So like I was like listening to it, and for whatever reason, Audible has this really weird version of it where it's it's one of those like multicast people. It's a like 12 cast.
I hate that
And
version, honestly.
I like it and I hate it. Some of the actors are really great. I am really, really sick of Scott Brick in audiobooks, though. I'm getting to the point where I can't stand him. Although I will say in this book he was actually pretty good.
Well,
my problem with him is I feel like he sounds the exact same in everything he does.
He cannot do a British accent worth his salt.
He doesn't emote. And when he narrates, it's almost like it's this self-congratulating narration. Like he's like, I am really good at this. And it's like, I don't know. That's a vibe I get, but he's really popular. So clearly I'm in the wrong. And I remember liking him the first time I listened to him, but I'm kind of tired of him.
So I wonder if you have the same problem with that I did. So it's multicast, right?
Oh,
But
I think I
only-
know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this.
but only in certain parts.
Yes.
And it doesn't do it all the time. And so, and you have Simon Vance, who is an incredible reader.
Mhm,
But the
yeah.
thing is that you're expecting this like multicast reading,
Yeah.
and then suddenly it's just Simon Vance, and so you're like, whoa, hold up, who's talking? So
It's the most bizarre audiobook
Yeah.
I've ever listened to.
it's so uneven
Because
I don't understand
sometimes
it.
he's just reading a couple chapters, and then the next chapter it's like 7 people, and
Yeah.
it's so confusing. And then like I can talk to you guys because you guys all know the story now, like, or we've all seen it and read it or whatever. Scott Brick does I'm drawing total blank.
Duke
What-
Leto.
Yes, thank you. He does Leto's voice.
Oh man.
And like I actually feel like he does a decent job. Like this is kind of an exception for him in my opinion. He is pretty good in this.
It's also kind of an Easter egg for Scott Brick for that,
Hmm.
because Scott Brick also read like all the other expansion Dune novels
okay.
that Brian Herbert wrote. And
Great.
So
Um,
yeah, believe me, you're
but-
not missing out on those novels.
And
Yeah.
Kevin Anderson, don't forget him.
Who cares about Kevin Anderson, Joseph?
I have heard those aren't great, but
They're not.
but what's so weird about this audiobook is that when he dies later on, Scott Brick just plays another character. It's like this is so weird. And then like they do music in it a lot, and that's while that is cool.
So uneven.
Music to me, especially like if I remember when Colin started his own thing, he would have music in the background of his podcast, and I'm like, it lulls me into this dreamlike state where I have a really hard time focusing. And that might be part of the fact why I had a hard time listening to this book. But then there's also the fact that this book is so bizarre because honestly, genuinely, I kind of love the world now. Like I kind of think that Dune is really dope. Like the books, there is absolutely nothing in these books that's cheesy or corny. None of the dialogue is corny. None of the characters' motivations are corny, as far as I remember. And I'm not through Messiah, so I know a lot of people don't like Messiah very much. But or that's what I've heard.
Well,
Anyways,
It's not as strong as the first one, but
Yeah.
Okay.
It's when we discuss it's almost like a prologue, like a extended prologue. I'm sorry, epilogue to
Epilogue. Okay, that makes
sorry,
sense.
epilogue to Dune.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but it's so weird because I went through this book. Like I said, I was uniquely stubborn with this book where I would listen to a chapter, and if I feel like I missed things, I would listen to it again. Like I probably listened to each chapter like 3 times in this whole book, and I still definitely didn't get everything, but it helped me to go through and like I was like okay, and then watching the first and second movie, even though the second movie is very different than the.
I had to do
book.
that with Blood Meridian because I felt like I just
Yes.
didn't forget
Yeah.
things, and then I listened to it and I was like, oh, I didn't forget anything. I just like
It doesn't help that Blood Meridian's narration is like one stream of consciousness. It doesn't break.
Yeah. I got like maybe a third through that book and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I've lost complete focus. And I'm like, I'm going to come back to this when I've
That-
practiced with
it
Dune.
has a really bad habit of just like losing you. And I was
Yeah, I had really struggled with that. So I'm going to have to get to that at some point. But anyway, so I really put in a lot of work into getting through this book. And I really ended up liking it a lot by the end, especially like I said, watching the movies. I think the book is way better than the second movie, even though I like the second movie. I think some of the choices they made is really weird. And even the first movie, why on earth? I totally forgot that they didn't include that Leto was or that like she that people were suspicious of Jessica Howard was suspicious. And I'm like, this is such a cool part of the book. It's like he tells Paul about it, about how he's like, hey, listen, dude, like, hey, bro, come here, bro. Like we can't tell her because we need her to react as if I don't trust her. But it's so cool. And they just totally left it out. And then the second movie, I think is way cooler in the book with a lot of stuff they do. But anyway, sorry, to wrap this up real quick, going through Messiah, yeah, I'm kind of doing the same thing. What's nice about Messiah, at least the version I got on Audible, there's no music. So it doesn't do that thing anymore.
Also random like wind gusts of Dune throughout the book. So
Wind gusts? Is there like sound effects?
yeah, it's like
Maybe I haven't noticed that or haven't gotten to that, but the first book, it's so like, prevalent throughout the whole thing. It's like sound effects, which some of them are really cool, like the Baron's audio, like changing sound when they don't do just the main voice actor, when they do the full cast. That sound effects is so cool. The filter they put on his voice, yeah, it sounds really cool. But anyway, so I just wanted to say that I definitely have a much bigger appreciation of Dune. Yeah, but it's so bizarre because like none of the characters really have much of a personality. It's like it's kind of like how I felt reading or listening to Lord of the Rings back in the day, where like the movies have way more character than I remember the books having. And then same with this, I'm like, no one really has a personality. It's so bizarre, and that's I think why it's not cheesy in a lot of ways, because it feels like I'm listening to a history book. It feels like someone's just accounting the events of this story.
Irulan is putting it all down.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really interesting, really bizarre. I simultaneously think it is overrated, but then I also really like it now. So really strange. That's my journey with Dune.
All right. I did forget something. Jared and I and Jonah watched X-Men 97, the first two episodes. Jared, do you got any opinions on it yet?
There's a lot of things I like and a lot of things I don't.
Yeah.
Like Eric's design is awful. Magneto looks
Magneto?
ridiculous.
Yeah. He looks like a grandma.
He looks like a grandma. And then the inclusion of Morph as one of the main X-Men. I don't like Morph.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Just
We
not
hated
have it.
Morph in the first
Why
one.
would you do that?
The art, I don't like the art. Everyone's like, "Oh well, the old one's art was suck too," but at least they had a style and it looked good. But
We all noticed that there's really bad, like it's uneven like frames, like FPS, because sometimes it'd be smooth and sometimes it's jittery like crazy, and it just looks awful.
yeah, it looks like they're moving them like
Okay,
puppets.
that's what I kept seeing, like those clips that they were releasing. It seems like it was a different like a background was like steady and the characters were just like sliding
Yeah.
across the background. I
Yeah,
was just like,
that's
that looks so
It's Aqua
odd.
Teen.
Yeah,
weird.
it looks like cutouts almost.
Mhm.
It's just
The
weird.
best animation is the opening. I thought the opening's pretty
Yeah.
good. They are taking stuff from the comics, so that's cool. And yeah, I liked the first episode a lot better than I liked the second episode. So we'll have to see where it goes.
Poor Rogue.
then-
That's all I have to say.
Poor Rogue. And then I only read a little bit more of The Fifth Heart, but it's remember I told you about the premise that they leave you on in the first chapter where Sherlock Holmes is like, I get the feeling that I'm not a real person. Well, the next I can't remember what chapter I'm on, but a little later on, he kind of explains, and it's kind of a cool twist. So this keeps getting twistier and twistier, and I'm liking it. So we'll see where it goes.
Just that Pikachu. It's very twisty.
Yeah.
Very twisty.
Okay. Oh, Thomas, your turn.
My turn. Okay, so I did my book movie combo, and this week was Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein.
That's not what we voted
That
on.
wasn't a pick.
I know that was the next one. I'm doing.
Oh,
I thought this was this week.
No, that one's coming
Not
up.
the right one.
That one's coming up. That was so critical. Like, that's not the
Immediately
pick.
expose me.
promised something.
I was ready for horror.
Yeah.
So I've read this novel like several times. It's one of my favorites. And the reason why I wanted to read it, because I was playing Helldivers 2 and was like, oh, it's kind of, in the same vein as the movie. And then I watched the movie and okay. Who likes the Starship Troopers movie?
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
You
It
guys
is-
hate it.
It's funny. It's a hard parody on fascism, and like the thing is that it's completely different from the book. in the way that the book is also presented as a fascist state, but it's almost like a analysis of fascism versus socialism or communism, sorry, because you have the Federation, which is like the ultimate form of fascism, and then you have the bugs that are the ultimate form of communism. And I feel like a lot of that is lost in translation in the movie, because the movie is just, it's full on action, gung ho, people firing in a circle, which I think is oh my God, that's the funniest thing. It's like, oh, they're firing like all this stuff. And I'm like, they're firing at each other. What's going on? But the book, there's only like 3 action scenes. There's the beginning, when he's deployed first off, and then the ending is kind of like the only action. The rest of the movie is book is basically Johnny Rico inside of classrooms and like boot camp and more classrooms. Like he goes from a recruit to a full service member, and then he goes to OCS, which is Officer Candidate School, which is like college. And basically, it's just you basically get a whole bunch of essays about how their society works, but it's kind of parodying like, oh yeah, this would work if we gave up all these rights. And with the movie, it's basically just a giant joke. And so I think a lot of it's not as impactful. Mostly because a lot of people either, one, say, oh, that's hilarious and stupid, or two, buy into it. It's just like, it's not the point of the story. But yeah, anyway, I will say that the movie's a lot of fun. I like watching it because it's just hilarious. And I remember me, Jared, and Joseph going to see Riff Tracks live for it, and somebody brought a kid. Like, who brings a kid to see Starship Troopers? But yeah, it's such a fantastic novel that I hate to see it get so overshadowed by this weird movie from this very odd Dutchman, Paul
Verhoeven, man.
That guy's nuts. I'm sorry.
RoboCop.
That guy's straight up crazy. Like, just I wouldn't want to hang around with him. But yeah, so there's that. Then we get on to some YouTube. I for some reason I got caught up in this podcast called Every Frame of Pause.
EFAP.
Yeah, EFAP. And apparently Mueller is like a big contributor to them. Like,
yeah,
he's one of the guys.
One of the founders of it. Yep.
Very interesting. Just some very very interesting subjects. They talk about like Sweet Baby Inc. And then they go over to like Hassan Piker and how he's like the worst person on earth, which I agree. I think he's the worst person on earth. But yeah, very interesting. And as soon as I saw Mueller, I was like, oh, I wonder if Joseph watches this. So go ahead.
Sorry, real fast. I watched Critical Drinker. Like, I've known of him, but I actually watched him this week. And his series on like why modern movies suck, specifically Hollywood hating men, so depressing and like so true. I was like, God.
When it's all like lined up in front of you, you're just like, oh God, this is sad. But yeah. And then I watched I hate this channel name. I hate it. It's called The Almighty Lolly. I don't know if you've heard of that one. He did that 21-hour Berserk video that I shared.
Is this Carlos? Is this his channel?
I know. I hate the name, but he's actually very good as a video essayist. He has a really good one on Watchmen. It's like the comparison of the new one and the old one, and how they really didn't understand how to criticize to society in general. It was just a horribly written show, and I agree, it's bad. But yeah, he has some very, very good episodes I think you should watch. He also has like a massive breakdown on the Berserk series and like a lot of fan theories and one of his own theories and how he thinks it might end, or maybe it just won't end, which I think is kind of an option. I don't know yet, because when that guy died, he left a lot up in the air. So, and then watch some YMS, mine and Jared's favorite equine furry dude, I guess you could call him.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I know. He did a playthrough with Scoot of Silent Hill. Now, if you've seen his other ones,
I don't watch his playthroughs. I'm not a big fan of them.
I like it when he's with somebody. When he's by himself, he gets a little annoying. But when he has somebody else, and I like Scoot, he's the tiger guy.
That's true. When he's with somebody, it's not as annoying because he will like if alone he just whines and whines. But
yeah, well, like with the Adam and Pals ones, those are some of my favorites. Like the 13 Reasons Why series, that is hilarious. Which should be hilarious, but anyway, but yeah, his Silent Hill playthrough it's great because it's also like unlocking a lot of the emo Adam. He's like, I know this game like the back of my hand. He gets stuck and but Scoot's like, yeah, like the back of your hand, huh? Is that new? So, and then I watched the Action Button video essay that Jared sent us.
Nice.
Of Tokimeki Memorial. I really feel sorry for that guy. Like he was having an existential crisis playing that game. And I'm just like, dude, like, are you okay? Do you need a hug or something? But
I like the hour he will take just to talk about his experiences in Japan and like his life. But then he goes back to the game for like 2 hours and then he goes back and you're like, well, this is cool.
And I love how he played it. He's like, I made a mistake and I want to reload, but then I remember there were no reloads in high school. So he just continues on forward.
And I love the way he like speaks because it's like real deep and like just real like an action hero kind of. It's really cool.
Well, and I like how he always says I can't pronounce it. Tokomeki Memorial. But he pronounces it like that every single time.
Yeah.
And I like how he has the cutaway camera. He's like, but I failed. And it was a mistake.
So, I like when he's like, what's her name did invite me to something. I was nervous.
She didn't want to walk home with me. And I was devastated.
Where did I go wrong?
I wasted my one phone call asking about girls when I could have just read the magazine. Have I been wasting my whole time? That's how he does the video. It's hilarious. And then I watched, I don't know why I watched it, but I went back through our That's Good Stuff of the Citadel reviews.
Well, get ready, Thomas, because we're gonna have to do it again.
That show broke our minds. I swear to God, I swear to God, me and Michael go insane for like a brief moment of time where our minds kind of connect and go like, we should just go insane for a second, right? It's just God.
Alex, what did you think of Citadel?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh. I was gonna say I watched a few episodes of Citadel and it was fun. I liked it.
Just wait till you get to the twists, Alex.
Oh,
wait till
God,
the twists.
The Queen's English. But oh God, guys,
it's fun. It's absurd though.
It's one of those series that you're just like $300
Why
million.
does he have a Ford manual on his coffee?
Why is he having Grubhub delivered?
I liked it more than the last Mission Impossible. That's what I'll say.
Wow. Whoa.
Movie
Wait
sucks.
till you get to the end. And then finishing off YouTube, I watched this show or this channel called Unpacked. It's basically like a history channel for Israel. It's very interesting about all the very complicated political machinations that are one happening and then two had to happen for this thing to exist. Very interesting. Not for everybody, but I found it very interesting. Then I watched season 6 of Rick and Morty.
Is that the newest one or
no? It's the one right before Justin Rowland left, which I think is kind of ridiculous since apparently he didn't do anything. So, this one, have you guys seen it? Michael,
but like those seasons all blend together after season 3 that I'm like, I've seen all of them and except for the newest one. I've seen like 2 episodes of the newest one, but
like the 2 funniest episodes I think I liked were the Beth episode where she falls in love with herself. That was really funny. And this one with Paul Giamatti, which I think was great, plays is it Time Baron or something like that? But it's a meta episode on how like story structure is like comprised, and then they meet the actual ghost of Joseph Campbell, and there's this one part where this writer goes like, I just need to give up writing. Maybe that should be the next story of me giving up writing. It's a movie about a writer. And like, you see the ghost of Joseph Campbell just like freaking out going, no. And it was great. Then watched a movie. And this movie, this cinematic masterpiece is called Fanboys. What a movie, guys. Seriously, like just so good.
I
Some
look back
killer
on that
guac,
movie.
man.
Do what?
I said that's some killer guac, man.
Good walk.
I look back on that movie the way I feel about Grind. Where I'm like, I loved that movie at a time. And now I'm like, I don't want to watch Grind at all.
Ever.
I will say that movie cannot get made today. There's some lines I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my.
Yeah.
And I still remember watching this with Jared, and I'm going like, is that Seth Rogen? I don't think that's Seth Rogen. Is it Seth Rogen? Yes, it is Seth Rogen.
Jar
Yeah.
Jar Binks.
That guy's gonna be
Oh, yeah, and I love how William Shatner just shows up randomly, just like I can get anything. So, fun movie to watch that I wanted to relax my brain. And then when I didn't want to relax my brain, I started True Detective season 1. Haven't seen this one.
Oh,
Never
Oh.
seen it. Oh,
I've never
that's
seen it.
surprising.
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, it's just kind of a procedure. Matthew McConaughey is kind of odd, kind of liking that. Very odd. I was like, okay, it's just about these two detectives, not very special. And then they mentioned The King in Yellow and Farrah Carcosa. I'm just like, excuse me. So you caught my interest. So I'm kind of
It's like when you're playing Kirby, you think you're a cute little marshmallow man, and then the Eldritch Dream comes
Eldritch
out.
horrors come out. I'm just like, what the hell's going on? So very interesting so far. And it's funny that Matthew McConaughey mentions Lubbock a lot. So
yeah.
he's like, who would put a mental hospital in Lubbock? Have you seen that place? I'm just like, he's right. He's absolutely right. It's like, but at least it's not Amarillo. So anyway, that's all I got for this week. So
Cool. So real fast, trailer reactions. Rebel Moon Part 2. What did you guys think?
Didn't watch it.
Didn't watch
didn't
it.
even see it. I didn't know it was out.
All right.
Didn't watch the first movie.
And how dare you start counting the days? How dare you?
25 days left, guys. 25 days.
Oh God!
It's coming, Jared. It's on its way. It's just right around the corner, Jared.
Terrible.
All right.
We need to have a recap episode of all the ridiculous crap that man is saying. Zack Snyder is off his wheels right now. Like that dude
We should
Really?
do that.
spouting so much stuff that your movies suck. Your movie has sucked for a long time. They're not good. But he's like, there were mixed reviews to Rebel Moon Part 1. It's just not for some people. No, it's a terrible freaking movie.
He said more people have seen it than seen Barbie. So
That can't be true.
And then he goes, he's like, well, I would direct. He's gone through probably 5 or 6 different superheroes now. I would direct a Batman movie. I would direct this movie. I would direct an Iron Man movie or whatever. I can't remember what all he says. Then he's like, oh, they're ruining Batman if they don't make him a killer. Like, where do you get these takes from? And stop giving them to us because no one wants them. I'm so tired of hearing, like, every day it's another headline of like, what is Zack Snyder talking about with the blowing smoke up our butts, man? It's enough.
It's like we liked 300. You did it. Go away.
So that video essayist I was talking about, he's talking about like the Watchmen movie. He's like, I can't believe that Zack Snyder made a comprehensive, really good version of Watchmen. And then he's like, then you give these writers to HBO and you're just like, how did you do worse than Zack Snyder?
I thought people liked that show. I didn't ever see it.
No.
It's like I heard people didn't. I watched like 4 episodes, got really, really bored and fell off.
It is terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah, we need to do Zack Snyder.
There's got to be some like Italian
Episode.
marker, some keeping up with the Snyders or something. I don't know.
Snyder in review.
It's something.
Okay, Ellie and Romulus, what did you think?
They showed way too
Intriguing.
much.
I don't feel like
Intriguing,
they
and
showed a
too-
lot. They just showed a lot of hallways and then
I-
running.
I think
they
they
showed-
showed the right amount. They
No,
didn't show
they sh-
too much.
They showed all the face huggers, and like I was like, "Come
Yeah,
on,
we
that
know what
should have
that
been
looks like.
something."
We know what they
We've seen them all.
Yeah, we're not
No,
gonna
I
not
know.
know.
I know that, but like, it was like a dozens of them. I'm like, okay, I
That's-
would have liked to see that.
But
More in the
Although
movie
we did get to
theaters.
see the tube come out of a mouth, which we've never seen. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's nasty. But I did like how confined it seemed. I like the idea
Yeah.
of being on the ship and no more of this planets of
I'm not gonna lie.
statues and stuff.
I'm happy that Ridley Scott's not doing it because I love Ridley Scott. Like he has more of my favorite movies than I think anybody. But his latest stuff, I'm just like, just stop. Just quit while you're ahead, man. Like, please.
He did The Last Duel, and I really liked that movie.
That
Yep.
one
That was
was
amazing.
very good.
Napoleon was fine, I thought.
Yeah,
I
Napoleon
didn't
was
see-
like
I didn't see
middle of
that,
the roadish.
It's
But
just-
like his Alien stuff, like Alien is a franchise I have completely given up on years ago. Like especially when I saw Covenant, I was like, this sucks. Like everything has sucked since the first one. Second one was fine, and then so I didn't
Well,
even watch.
I thought Prometheus was fine. It wasn't perfect,
It was
but I thought it was
interesting.
an okay movie.
Prometheus was
I
a
don't
good
remember it.
setup, and then
Yeah.
they completely ruined it.
But then you get like Covenant, and you're like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
Oh
dude.
my
That
god.
movie sucked.
Yeah, I like that they're trying to take it back to basics. I don't know where the story's gonna go. Beetlejuice, did anyone see that? Beetlejuice.
I didn't watch the teaser.
Saw the
No.
teaser.
I saw the picture of it. I was like, that's him.
Talk about a franchise I care about less than Aliens. Oh my
I
god.
do love the name though, doing it Beetlejuice, which means they
Yeah,
have to
that's
make a
pretty cool.
trilogy because
Yeah.
it has to go
Well,
full.
I like that Michael Keaton doesn't look any different. So
Ah, he looks old, man.
Yeah, that's right.
He's
always looked
he looks
old,
thicker.
though.
Yeah,
Thicker.
his face looks a little weird shaped. What else? What was that game called? Marvel 1943. I think it
Oh
was
yeah.
called.
Yeah,
What you guys think of that?
The freaking Unreal. Because I think that came out at the same time they're doing the Unreal 5 demo conference thing, whatever. So I'm guessing that's what it's a part of. But I mean, it's just stunning, dude.
Yeah.
The facial animations and how I'm like, it looks like I'm looking at a Marvel movie, like straight up. There's crazy visuals. I'm very interested to see like full on gameplay and everything. And you did say it was Amy Hennig doing this, who did
Let me double check.
she's the one who
But
what's the word I'm looking for? Helmed like Uncharted and stuff until the
Yeah,
fourth one and everything,
Uncharted
so-
Yeah.
2, I think.
she was
Well-
the creative director of Naughty Dog until
I think that she made the
things
first
happened.
I
3.
think she made the first 3.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But and so her finally getting a she was supposed to do a Star Wars game that got canned, and then because she was
She's also responsible for the
EA.
most of the first of The Last of Us, I think.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken.
No.
that's
She had nothing to do with The Last of
something.
Us.
Yeah, that's a different guy.
The first
That was
one?
Yes,
that was
different guy.
yeah, that was all Neil Druckmann and
What's his name? Ben?
what is that guy's name? No.
I don't know why I'm drawing
Like
a
she
blank on
had
his name.
nothing. She was already
Yeah,
gone.
She was gone by
Was
far.
she? Because she was working on the 4th game and then they had a fallout or
Mm.
whatever. And then Neil Druckmann and God, what is his name?
I'm looking it up.
It is a B. But they both took over Uncharted 4. That's why Uncharted 4 had a different vibe kind of than the other 3 Uncharted's. But yeah, she had nothing to do with that. That was Neil Druckmann's baby, him and whatever this guy's name is. I should remember that. But
I know.
let me see.
Bruce
Yeah, Amy Hennig.
Straley.
Bruce
Yes,
Straley,
Bruce
yeah.
Straley. That's it. So yeah, Amy Hennig and Mark Bernardin are the writers of this Marvel's 1943 Rise of Hydra.
Nice.
That trailer was really good. It looks good. It's like, why can't we have a movie of this? Why do we have
Yeah.
Wakanda Forever? Why do we need that? There's a little
God.
things that scare me. Just like, why do we need these other characters? We just need Cap and we need Black
Yeah.
Panther. That's all we need. I really hope those other characters don't have a big I hope you don't have to play as them or anything. So.
Yeah, I really hope it's like linear, like Uncharted, and that it's not like an open world or anything.
Yeah.
That would be if we could just get another Uncharted from like Amy Hennig, but with Marvel heroes. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm
Oh.
down for that.
I forgot to mention, I did watch one more thing. So Starship Troopers has a whole TV series called The Roughnecks. It's a CGI series. And it is way better than the movies because it kind of puts in perspective of like the soldiers, and that's kind of what it is. Michael, that's what I was watching, by the way.
Oh, the weird
When I sent that random pic.
abstract
Yeah,
art.
it's from 2000 is when it was made, and it's all CGI. And some of it's kind of cool, like the character models and stuff, but the people, no, it looks terrible. It basically looks like Reboot is what it looks like.
Oh no.
Yeah. And well, not just that, but the only thing I could find that was like the full thing, I found a few episodes that were HD and they looked all right, but the full thing that I found, like all 40 episodes, was in 480 resolution, and it was like, ooh, motion is not this show's friend right now. So voice acting's good though, but so the girl that plays Dizzy is the same actress that plays Tommy Pickles, so it's kind of funny.
All right. So, any last words on this episode, or should we put a can on it?
I have something.
Put a can
I
on it.
didn't think about mentioning this, but there's this YouTube channel called Jubilee. I don't know. I'm not familiar with their stuff at all, except for this one series called Middle Ground.
Yep.
And I've watched a few episodes here and there, and then I eventually was just like, I joined their Patreon for like $3 because like, this is what I want from people talking about like controversial topics, I guess. I might be wrong. Maybe there's some inherent bias in these episodes. Maybe it tilts one way over the other. Maybe they edit it to do that. I don't know. But on the surface, it does not appear that way. The whole idea of Middle Ground, you guys might have seen some of it. It's like you have usually 8 people standing in the background, and then there's 8 stools in the light. And then it's usually 4 people from one side of a controversial topic, 4 people from the other. So it could be like, one of them I watched was like Christians versus like used to be Christians. I can't remember how they worded it. Or like, it could be former Christians. It was probably something like that. Or I imagine they have an episode like this, like Christians versus atheists, or anything and everything that's complicated. I'm sure they have like an abortion versus pro-choice, pro-life kind of thing. And it is so awesome because it's what I want. I'm so tired of biases and partisanship and all this crap. And it is so cool because they don't have a mediator. It's just the only mediator is that each little like prompt, they have a time. So they'll say like, if it's like Christians versus atheism, it's like, okay, do you believe that God exists or whatever? And then obviously the Christians would come forward. The questions are usually more in depth than that. And then the people that agree with the prompt come forward, state their initial case, and then everyone else comes forward, and then they all discuss. And the whole point in the show is literally to find a middle ground. So it can veer off the rails where they're like, yeah, we didn't find a middle ground at all. But
hot dog is a sandwich, darn it.
Yeah. Episode.
No, one of my favorite artists was on there. His name's Tomar Perez. He's an Israeli artist on there. Very, very cool guy.
Yeah.
He does a lot of trauma therapy with victims of extreme violence. And so he basically takes them in and he says, all right, this is your space. This is a safe space. Create art the way that you want to express it, how you're feeling about this particular event. Very, very cool guy.
Yeah.
He had a lot of really cool things to say. But yeah,
it's such a breath of fresh air in my opinion. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know anything about the rest of the channel, what else they do, but they made a whole separate Patreon because of this series is so popular.
They seem to be fairly middle ground. Middle ground. Some of their stuff, I don't like some of their other stuff that they do. It just seems very biased. But this is like the one thing that seems to be actually unbiased. Because I watch the channel too. Because they have some very interesting discussions. I'm not going to list them all here because they're very, very, again, some very hot topics
they are
to discuss. But I do appreciate that particular show. But yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I would definitely recommend checking out if you care about that. If you want to just, feed into your own bias, and sure, everyone has a bias. Like I'm sure the channel does at times. It's probably inevitable, but this is the most like neutral space I've ever seen in anything ever. I love certain people who have different takes because I'm definitely very middle in my opinion. I might lean a little bit more conservatively, but I'm very middle. on most things. Like, and it's nice to not have people just echoing everything back to each other they agree about. And it's just like, let's see if we can, find some mutual respect and try to get to know why you believe this. Anyway, I've gone a long time, but I would highly recommend that channel.
A lot of people are thirsty for debate, good old fashioned debate, which we don't really have anymore. But I know a lot of people that are like, we just need debate again in this country.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
it just goes to show that a channel or when you do something like this, inevitably, hopefully, people start to realize, oh, that's a person over there, and they believe things for a reason. They're not necessarily a monster.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that way, where it's not just presidential debate where nothing gets accomplished. It's like, let's see what we can do.
My opponent is the worst because of this. Well, my opponent is the worst because
Well, you smell, so
smell more.
You walked in here funnily.
Well, we do have a very big bias about Zack Snyder on this show.
Maybe we can find the middle ground.
Yeah,
to where
let's
that
get some
is.
fans on here.
Some Zack Snyder fans. Yeah. All right. So that's going to do it for this episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us some likes, and notify yourself for some even more good stuff to come. And we will see you next time. Bye.